Well, look at that. A nice comfy 2-0 win against Brentford. Typically a banana skin for us, and a lot of it comes down to a great performance from a keeper that's been terrible all season, Sanchez. And I gotta say, I'm very surprised by... What? What, you're saying he's been good all season? No, that can't be right. I mean, Rory Jennings said that he's been poor, and we know Rory Jennings is never wrong. What's up, guys, and welcome back to Blues and Stripes. So, like I said, comfy home win, 2-0 against Brentford. Fairly solid performance. It wasn't great. There were some gaps in it, mostly defensively. But I thought we did create some good chances going the other way. I think there were moments in the game when we took our foot off the gas, and I'll talk about that a bit more when it comes to Rossinier and what he's doing. But I did first want to talk about the referee, because man, what a joke today. And first of all, the missed penalty in the first half, the clip on the back of João Pedro's heel, embarrassing. But then you got Kelleher takes down Delap, no yellow card. Some people might argue it's a red, but it's double jeopardy, so he's not going to get a red card. Denial of an obvious goal scoring opportunity doesn't apply here. But it should have been a yellow card. He gets nothing for it. And then Neto turns Jensen and is about to break out, might find a pass to Palmer, gets hacked down by Jensen. No yellow card. Talking to. And even worse, we go to play the ball quickly because Palmer's in a ton of space, and he stops it so we can talk to him. If you're going to stop the play, you're giving him a yellow card. You don't stop it to have a little conversation. And it's worthy of a yellow card. He hacked down Neto, not even trying to play the ball. And there were just several moments throughout the game where little touch, they go down. Oh, it's a foul. Little touch, we go down. Nothing. I mean, there's one absolutely embarrassing because Palmer gets a little nudge in the back, flops over dramatically, no call. So I'm thinking, all right, fine. Yeah, that was obviously not a foul. And then a minute later, maybe not even a minute, ball goes up the field. Palmer gives a guy a little nudge in the back. He goes down dramatically. It's a foul. You can't write this stuff. It's so obviously hypocritical. I don't know what it was about us today, but this referee, I actually don't even know who it is. I could look up his name, but I'm too lazy to right now. But he just had a stick up his ass about anything Chelsea did. But looking at Rossinier and the decisions he made today, first of all, the lineup I think is mostly solid outside of one. And I will talk about him when we get to him. I will be interested to hear what happened with Estevao because obviously he's not even on the bench, so don't know if it's an illness. I know Delap and Gittins were left out for illness. Said they were running a high fever, so I don't know if it might start spreading through the team. Yeah, a little disappointing not to have him. Everything else makes sense in my opinion. The subs, little iffy on. I mean, the Tosin sub is kind of forced on you because he was injured. But typically, I don't like switching out center backs because it just upsets the back line, and you could tell Fofana was not ready for this match. But the Santos on for Garnacho, I will say, a little weird. Now, granted, I do understand you don't want to take Palmer off because he is a creative player, and if Brentford do get the equalizer, then having Palmer on the pitch is going to help you get back in front. And obviously, we saw he's the one that steps up and takes the penalty to kind of put the game to bed. But I just felt like we were losing the battle in the midfield. I do think bringing Santos on helps with that a little bit because it does help Caicedo be a bit more of the bulldog in the midfield that he wants to be, tracking down everybody, and Santos sort of holding in there. But I did think of the three and behind the striker, Palmer was the one that was giving us the least amount of work off the ball. Garnacho was actually doing a decent amount today, which did surprise me because I'm not used to seeing that from him. So I did feel like that one was a little weird, but in the end, it ended up working out fine. I think Delap coming on for Pedro when he did was a good decision, especially since Brentford were stepping out a lot more. It suits him because it gives him a lot of space in behind to run into. And then the final two, I'm assuming, is just resting legs for James and Fernandez. And then bringing on Achampong and Hato is just, we're bringing on more defenders. So I don't really mind those subs. I did feel like tactically speaking, once again, it is pretty similar to what we've seen from Maresca, but he did appear to kind of ease up a little bit on Sanchez and let him just boot it out whenever he needed to. Look at what happened with Sanchez's confidence today. I mean, so many fantastic saves. He kept us in the game. The defense once again today was very shaky. Sanchez was phenomenal. And this is where I did want to just discuss real fast the reaction online to the Arsenal match, because I was very shocked. I said it in the preview. I was shocked at how negative the reactions were. And I get it, losing to Arsenal is never fun. But looking in context of the players we were missing, the fight back after going down 2 goals twice, I mean, it's still disappointing not to win, but I felt like there was some positives to take from that. I thought Fernandez looked good. I thought João Pedro looked more solid. I think he carried that on in today. And then Garnacho comes off the bench with 2 great goals, and Estevao looked good throughout the match. So I'm seeing these positives. Yes, our defense is very shaky, and if we want to try to get back into the top 4, we're going to need to go sign some center backs. Our center back depth is just not good enough. I know they're already talking about signing this guy. I've never heard of him. He's from Rennes. And I know that's on me because I don't really watch a lot outside of the Premier League. But the reaction has just been so negative after that. And from somebody who typically gets called negative all the time, it's been very odd to witness, to see so many people that just feel like, oh, this is the end of the club. We're doomed. Rosenior is an awful coach. We're never going to make it. We're going to drop out of everything. I just don't understand that because we still have so many good players, some of which were not available. And I know I poked fun at Rory Jennings at the beginning, but I really do wonder how much of it is coming from him. Because I think the frustration with the board is bleeding into the fan club, and I get it. I'm not happy with Blueco either. I think they've done a lot of stuff very poorly. Even Rosenior, he could turn out to be a great manager, but I think going with another young manager who's a rookie is not a good decision from the board. If he turns out to do great, fantastic. I'll applaud that. Same as I said with Maresca, honestly. But I think the unhappiness with the board has now turned people to the one content creator that is stuck to his guns and has hated on Blueco since the very beginning, to the point of wishing that we would fail so that the board would get shit. And in my opinion, I've been told several times how to support the club, and I don't really subscribe to that idea. Like, if you want to hate on the club, that's your opinion. I don't really respect you for it, but that's up to you. That's fine if you want to. Same for me. If I want to call out the problems, even in the games whenever we look good, I am allowed to do that as a fan. I can criticize. But like I said, I do not respect the idea of I want us to lose because then it'll make some changes up at the top. You should never want your team to lose. That's why we make fun of Spurs for wanting to lose against Man City to keep Arsenal from winning the title. That's an embarrassing mindset to have. But I think because Rory has been so consistent with his hatred, I think that's why so many people have jumped on board with him and have started taking a lot of what he's saying to heart. And because now all of a sudden he's got all of these critiques to make, which in my opinion are revisionist history. Like, he's talking about Sanchez being poor all season. He's had 2 bad games. The red card against Man U and then the Arsenal match. That's it. Other than that, he's been phenomenal. He's like second place behind Raya for clean sheets. And with a defense that's really not been that great. Again, today, this was not the defense was phenomenal and Sanchez helped him. No, he's the one that made these saves. We did have some last-ditch defensive challenges, some people putting their bodies on the line at the end of the match. But there were several times throughout the match where he's the one making the save. So again, I'm not going to tell you how to support the club. I think everybody should be entitled to their opinion, but if you're listening to Rory and you're basically regurgitating his opinion, then you need to do your own research. You need to look into it yourself. You need to actually watch and pay attention, because he doesn't actually pay attention. He just lets whatever gets in his head, he looks at the highlight reel and just points out the bad stuff. And it's not a good look. And it's why so many people make fun of him, because he doesn't really know what he's talking about half the time. But anyway, that little tangent aside, like I said, for a senior, seeing him change it up a little bit, let Sanchez play long, I think was a good decision, and it really helped him today. I do worry, though, because we still saw moments, especially after the goal, we saw moments where we took our foot off the gas and started hitting the brakes. And I feel like those moments are the ones that I want to see less of. We saw it a lot under Maresca too, this idea that we're goal up, so we can take it easy now. It doesn't really help us. We need to go kill off these matches because defensively, we're not quite good enough right now. Everybody can admit that. So it's better to go score a second and then maybe a third, because there's a good chance we could be giving up 1 or 2. I think the best example of it is the moment Neto breaks down the field, great cross into Garnacho, who absolutely scuffs his shot. I'm going to pray for him that there was a Brentford fan sitting in the away end that was giving him so much lip, just wouldn't shut up, and so he just pinpointed just right into his face. I'm going to hope that's what was going on there. But the thing is, they take the goal kick really quickly, go down, create a half chance, we manage to stop it, and then we go back down the field to Palmer, and then he just sort of stands on it. And all of Brentford get back behind the ball. I'm thinking, no, that's not what we need. We just exposed the flaw in their defense. We just found the issue. Let's take advantage of that. But no, we instead pump the brakes. Now start keeping possession in the back, and then we don't create anything for the rest of the half. And I feel like it's a systemic thing at the club at this point, because we've seen it for a while now. I think dating back all the way to Sarri, I can remember every manager that's come in, we end up reverting back to this style of we're not going to go too hard. We're going to pump the brakes, keep about 5 to 10 minutes of possession, create nothing with it, and then they're going to win it back and go down the pitch and create a chance. As I've said it before, it's one thing to take the momentum, the sting out of the game, if the other team is just flying and you don't want to turn it into a back and forth type of affair. That's one thing. It's another thing when you're playing so slowly that when they do eventually win it back, you're not turned on to the quick counterattack, and all of a sudden they look dangerous whenever they get possession. I feel like that happens to us way too often. It's supposed to lull them into a sleep. It ends up lulling us into a sleep, and then we're just not ready for anything. But final thoughts on Rosenior, though. I do think He did a good job with some of his subs. I think the way he set us up today, it allowed a bit of freedom in some players that I think benefited them. And obviously, it's good to get your first win in the Premier League against a team that typically does cause us issues, especially when you're at home too. But getting on into individuals, first of all, Sanchez, like I said, he was brilliant today. I hope this puts the kibosh on any of this talk about him being poor all season, as well as instills in him confidence so we don't see another repeat of that Arsenal performance again anytime soon. Because the thing about keepers, yeah, you don't want them to have those moments in them like we saw against Arsenal, but if they have one game like that, maybe every 20, that's a good return, in my opinion, for a keeper. It's whenever it turns into they have it one every 5 games, then every match you're concerned. You're not really sure what to expect. And that's kind of what we got from him in Maresca's first season. But this season, it's not been that. Yes, the red card was poor. There was a lot building up to that I thought wasn't well handled by the rest of the team. And it's just one moment. It's not like he was poor all match. Arsenal was the first one where he was just poor throughout the entire match. And even then, he came up with a great save to keep it at 3-1. So bravo to him for turning it around and coming in with his head held high today and just really doing a fantastic job of keeping a clean sheet. James, I thought, had some good moments defensively, but there were a couple of moments of just this lapse of concentration from him, which is not typically what I expect from him. There was one in particular in the first half. I don't even know what he was thinking, but he goes to play it back to, I think, Chalobah or Tosin, and Shada's right there. And he still tries the pass anyway. Shada gets a touch to it, thankfully goes out of bounds. But it just seems so lazy to try to play that pass when there's very clearly somebody there that's about to pick it off. He's smarter than that. And he had a couple of other moments like that defensively where he let somebody get in behind him a little too easily. It wasn't the entire match, but there were moments like that, and I'm just not used to seeing him have those issues. So it's a little concerning. I know he didn't play in the Arsenal match, so maybe there's still something affecting him, but hopefully we don't see too much more of that. Chalobah and Tosin, it's return of Bonehead Chalobah for me. I talked about Bonehead Sanchez and Arsenal. This is early season Chalobah that we saw this year, where he's just swiping at balls, completely mishitting it. Defensively, he's kind of all over the place, not really doing a good job of putting in good defensive challenges. I don't know where this has come from, but it's happened in like the past couple games. And it's a little concerning because he's been solid basically since Fofana came back and we dropped Tosin. I don't know if it's Tosin returning that's causing issues, but yeah, this was not a good performance for him. But let's talk about Tosin because I don't know. I don't know what to talk about with him anymore. And don't get me wrong, I understand new manager coming in, maybe he can get the best out of him. Maybe he sees what Tosin can do and utilizes that. But there's so many issues with his defensive work that it just scares me to have him back there. I mean, the first chance the Brentford get all starts from him. He comes out to defend and he's just squared up. His legs are just open like the St. Louis Arch. And so what do you think happens? Well, ball right through his legs. You don't defend square. It's the basics. They teach you that as a kid. How are you doing this as a pro that's played in the Premier League even before Chelsea? And then to make it even worse, Shada comes in. Chalobah goes sliding past him. Stupid decision. I can't remember who put pressure on him after that. I think it might have been Cucurella. But then he sees Tosin making a break and run inside. He's like, I got you. Plays it right onto Tosin. Honestly, Tosin should do better. Puts it right on Sanchez's hands. I mean, he's really got to tuck it away from the... He fucking kicks it at the goal. This whole play, Brentford's best chance for the first 30 minutes, comes from Tosin dumbass defending and then kicking the ball at the goal defensively. You can't make this up. Now, in his defense, because I'll try to play the devil's advocate, because as much as I don't like him, I'm going to review fairly. I'm going to talk about the good stuff too, if there is any. And the one thing that I can defend him on today is he's good in the air. And so when you're playing a team like Brentford that are really good on set pieces, having Tosin can help you with that. So maybe that's the thinking. But the problem is that Brentford can also score from open play too. And when you have Tosin back there, you're going to give up a lot of chances from open play because he's just not good enough. So I don't know, this guy coming in from Rennes, I think his name is Jacquet. I don't speak French. I don't know how to pronounce it. Man, we need another option back there because we've already seen Badiashiel's just not good enough. And Tosin is just still a joke. Cucurella on the left side, not one of his better games again. To be fair to him, one of his biggest problems today is a problem with the entire defense. So once again, I'm looking at the defensive coaching and asking, what are we doing? Because his biggest problem was letting people run in from behind him again. No awareness of what's there. I don't know how you don't teach your defense that. I don't know how nobody's communicating and letting him know, hey, there's somebody behind you. I don't know why his head's not on a swivel. How are we letting this happen at this top level? Coaches, how are you guys not talking to your players about this? When you see Gusto do it, when you see Fofana do it, when you see Tosin, Chalobah, Cucurella, Badiashile, when you see every defender on the pitch do it at some point? How do you not have a sit down and go, guys, this has got to improve? Just watch the damn tapes. It's so obvious. But anyways, that's probably all of the negative done. Getting up into the midfield, Fernandez and Caicedo were both solid today. I think Caicedo in the first half was at times caught out a little bit, and I think part of that is because the way we were set up, I don't think it benefited him. Typically, when we play in this system, this 4-2-3-1, with Caicedo and Fernandez, one of the things that makes Caicedo so good and made him so good under Maresca is having Cucurella or James step in there with him and basically give him a little bit of help. So that way he can be this marauding center defensive mid that just basically follows the ball, goes to win it back without having to worry about what's behind him, because now Cucurella or James have stepped in and covered that space. Today, Brentford did a good job of making their wings effective at keeping James and Cucurella pinned. So Caicedo was kind of alone in there, and there were times whenever you could tell he was sort of caught in two minds about whether to step to the ball or whether to mark the man behind him. And Fernandez doesn't really help that much with tracking and marking. He can do it at times, but I think honestly his best defensive work is whenever he's pressing high, not whenever they're knocking it around in the midfield and he's having to actually track and mark runners. So I think in the second half, whenever Santos came in, stepped in alongside Caicedo, I think that helped both Fernandez and Caicedo be a little bit more effective in those positions. But first half, they still were playing well enough. I mean, Fernandez obviously sets up the goal for João Pedro. But even outside of the defensive work rate, I think both of them were keeping the ball moving pretty well, played out of some tight spaces at times. So both of them played well, in my opinion. Palmer, I guess a little bit of a negative because I didn't really think he was that good today. On the ball, a little too slow. Not quick enough to get rid of it either. I know he's still coming back from injury, and hopefully the goal, getting more time, it will help him return to the player that he was before. But yeah, right now it kind of is a liability to have him out there because he's not really giving us much. Neto, another game from him where he doesn't get on the score sheet, but he works his butt off for us. I think the best example of that came in the second half. Takes the ball, cuts inside, creates a little bit of an opening, has a shot blocked by the defender, and then they get it out quickly. Cucurella ends up caught in a 2v1. Neto's the one breaking back and ends up winning the ball back, poking it out for a throw-in before they can get a chance to counter on us. That's what he does so well. And I don't think he gets enough appreciation for it because people want their wingers to score and assist, but the work he does off the ball is just incredible. Because that was late into the match, too. It was like 85th minute or something like that, and he's still going 100%. And the fact that he's not gotten injured hardly, knock on wood, I think that's also very impressive because he did have a pretty hefty injury record at Wolves. So it's just something that I think people should appreciate from him, because not having a player like that, it does mean that your Palmers are going to have to work harder defensively. Garnacho on the left side, it's so funny because against Arsenal, obviously I was happy with the 2 goals. His work off the ball, though, wasn't great. He didn't track back too much. And so I'm somebody, I do appreciate the hard work a bit more than scoring or assisting goals. I know that's weird. I know most people are much more concerned with us scoring the goals than us being defensively solid, but that's why I like somebody like Neto, because he does work so hard on the other side of the ball. So it's just very ironic to me that Garnacho comes on against Arsenal, scores 2 goals, but I thought his work off the ball just wasn't that great. So yeah, it was good for him to score 2 goals, but I would have liked to see a bit more from him on the other side of the ball. Today, he actually worked back. He tracked back, made some good challenges. He even put some good pressure on high up. There's a one moment whenever Kelleher barely got it out from under him, and then he has that wide open miss. So I'm sure he's going to get slated for that. And I just find it so ironic that he either gives you some great stuff on the ball, scores some goals, gets some assists, but doesn't track back, or today he tracks back, does well defensively, but then absolutely wastes a couple of chances. I still do think he did create some good chances for us. I mean, he was giving the fullback a lot to have to do, so I do hope people give him some credit today, but I do feel like that wide open miss that he had from Neto's good run, I feel like people are going to hone in on that and criticize him for it. I feel bad for him in that sense, and I'm one of Garnacho's probably biggest haters, so the fact that I feel bad for him in that moment kind of tells you what my opinion on him was today. But finally up top, João Pedro, good goal, worked hard again. The amount of people that said he was poor against Arsenal, I really think people don't give enough credit to these players that hold the ball up well. You know, your Jacksons. I thought Jackson was way overly criticized when he was here because people only wanted to see, well, what's he going to do whenever he gets in the box? How many goals is he going to score? How many times is he going to assist? And they missed all the times that he's working back, winning the ball, keeping the ball moving, playing in the tight areas. I mean, there's so much about what Jackson did and what João Pedro does as well that I think people just miss. And granted, he's not been great this season, and I've had my opinions on that, about why that is, and about what Maresca was doing that I think misprofiled him and the players behind him. But I think now we're starting to see a little bit more confidence come into him because he's starting to play in those tight spaces. starting to keep possession really, really well. And it's something that we've needed from whoever's playing up top. There were so many opportunities today that were created because he did well to hold it up under pressure, lay it off to somebody, or just keep possession and then move it out wide. It's so underrated to have a player like that up there. And so I hope the fact that he got the goal today, I hope people will get off his back a little bit, because he's been fairly effective in the past few matches, and I just don't think people are seeing what he's doing. But as far as the subs, Santos came on, I thought played pretty well, gave us a bit more energy in the midfield, which I do think helped us a bit. Now, granted, they did start going over the top of our midfield, which then started to hurt us, but it was very frustrating to see us get played through so easily in the first half. So Santos coming in, I think, nullified that, which was good to see. Fofana, he just came on looking so cold, not ready for the match at all. Several moments where he's behind the pace of the game, getting run by so easily, taking some poor touches. It was very scary. I know it's a sub we have to make because Tosin's injured, but man, it was scary to have him on, because he was just not looking up for this game at all. Give him a little bit of credit because he did make some good challenges at the end of the match, but for a majority of his performance, it just wasn't good enough. Delap came on, didn't do a whole lot. He did win the penalty, of course, which was good, but I was hoping to see a bit more from him because this was a match where the space was there to get him behind, and unfortunately we just couldn't seem to find him for some reason. I don't know if he just wasn't taking up good starting positions or if the defense was just doing a really good job of keeping him marked out of the game. But I did think this was going to be a good chance for him to show what he can do against the Brentford side that were starting to step out. And again, outside of the penalty, we didn't really see much from him. And the final two, Acheampong and Hato. Acheampong had a couple of decent defensive moments. I didn't really feel like he was tested heavily, though. It seemed Brentford were more content to go over the top and test Fofana and Chalobah. But he was called on a couple of times to make some good challenges to keep up with the wing. And I thought he did a good job of that. And Hato, I think, is carrying on this good run of form that he's on. And both Hato and Acheampong, I think, are good examples of why I wasn't too disappointed with Maresca leaving, because he wasn't utilizing either of them, and they've both come on and looked pretty solid. Acheampong arguably is a little bit more shaky, but he's also very young. But Hato, every single time he stepped on the pitch in the past few matches, he's looked good. And I'll bring it up again, that run of matches where Saka Cucurella, dumbass, faced off against Lamine Yamal and then Bukayo Saka right after. And then Maresca didn't give Hato a chance to show what he could do and just kept throwing Cucurella in. And every single match, Cucurella looked a little bit slower until eventually he got injured. That's where Maresca, I think, failed as a manager. I don't think he did a good job of really utilizing what he has here, because we do have a solid squad, even though people want to argue and say that we look terrible. Again, from Rory, we looked so far behind Arsenal, even though we only lost by 1 goal, and that was after we gifted them 3 goals. There's still a lot of talent in this squad. I just don't think it's been utilized correctly by Maresca, and so that's where I'm hoping Rossinier can come in and utilize it a bit better. Give guys like Hato more of a chance, Santos more of a chance, Acheampong more of a chance. We need to see these guys grow and improve, because guys like James, Cucurella, Fernandez in the midfield, they're not going to be able to play every single match. They're good when they play, but if you play them 6 or 7 matches in 2 weeks, they're going to wear out eventually. So you need to have these backup options ready to go. And if you don't play them for months and then just throw them into a random game, they're not going to be good enough. They're not going to be ready for it. But those are all of my thoughts. I think we've got Champions League and midweek against Paphos, if I'm not mistaken. I'll talk about a bit more what I want to see out of that match when I do the preview. But that'll do it for this one. So with all that being said, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on the match today? Let me know what we can talk about and discuss. All that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea previews, reviews, and talks. And until next time, hope you guys have a great day. And I'll talk to y'all later. Peace out.